So if you've been following my YouTube channel or my blog for any amount of time, you know in 40K there are certain units that Fritz must play based on the narrative, the units that I enjoy: Terminators, Land Raiders, Vindicators, Dreadnoughts, Assault Marines, both Loyalist and Chaos variants. And in this podcast, I wanted to talk about Terminators, kind of the core strategy behind them, and kind of this debate right now in 8th edition, Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, Lightning Claw, close combat Terminators versus shooty Terminators. Has the meta shifted? Where do we kind of stand right now? So there's kind of equal application between Loyalist and Chaos variants on there, although that's heresy either way to say that. And down at the bottom of this video, this podcast, under the info box, is a link back to my blog where you can find the complete breakdown. We're crunching the math hammer. We're looking at some ideas from some past games on there to kind of talk about Terminators, to kind of talk about how we're going to utilize them and how they work in your army. So the first thing, if you are taking your invulnerable save, this is kind of my thought on it. If you are taking your invulnerable save, something has kind of gone wrong. I want to be able to take my armor save against it. And with that, I need to maximize my armor save. At this point in the game, at least in my local meta, part of it's Necrons, of course. A lot of people play Crons, but everything's got AP1. Everything's got AP2 on there across army-wide. So the armor save has been reduced. Now, naturally, of course, power armor Marines get reduced also. But at the very least, I want to make sure that as I position my Terminators, as I utilize them, whether they're riding in something, walking on the table, or deep striking in, I'm getting the best armor save that I can. If I'm getting hit with a high AP modifier on it and it's just stripping things away, or I'm going to my invulnerable save, that's not the best place to be. And again, the invulnerable save is when you messed up or kind of something went wrong and you have to take it. It's better to try and save a couple of Terminators than to have the whole unit wiped out. So with that, more than ever, we really have to think ahead multiple game turns. And we've talked about this in a previous podcast, this idea of movement and threat bubbles, where it's really easy to focus in the moment when it's your turn, because 40K is a you go, I go system, where it's your turn and you figure, okay, I'll move this unit here, I'll move my Land Raider up here, I'll move my Vindicator here, Assault Marines flank to the side to cover, take advantage of that terrain. That makes sense on my game turn. But then we need to account for, and of course I'm going to shoot and hopefully have some good dice and remove some of your models. Then we need to account for on your turn, where are you going to move? What do you have the ability to shoot into those Terminators or into units? What can deep strike in or alternate ways of entry onto the board? What are you going to throw against me? So it wouldn't make sense to kind of move my Terminators forward and take out a small group of cultists or some scouts, and then I'm in range for like something else that's going to completely take them out. We need to project one turn ahead. I find in 40K, unlike chess, projecting ahead more than a turn is not a good use of your mental resources in the moment on there, simply because 40K is too much of a swingy game. You know, in chess, seeing out the theory, there's no dice to modify it. 40K, there are the dice. So it's just too swingy. We don't really know what's going to happen turn by turn. And likewise, your opponent might make mistakes or they might make things to capitalize on. So we want to look one turn ahead. Shooty versus Assault Terminators. Now, for a long time, and I still play it based on the narrative. Side note, there's going to be certain units in 40K that you really want to play. They fit your narrative. They fit your model collection. It's an awesomely painted model. It has a lot of history. It's not the most optimal in the moment. It's not the best unit in your faction out there. So with my train of thought, the way I like to play is acknowledge what the model, what the unit does well. And ask the question, okay, this is what it does well. How can I magnify that? Can I team it up with other units? Can I buff it with psychic powers? Can I put it in a transport delivery system and increase its hitting power? Likewise, the areas that it's weak, what can I do to minimize that in terms of, are there other units that can work with it to prevent that? Or if I can't, what other elements in my army exist that can keep my opponent busy. So I might have a big group of cultists that my opponent is just going to chew through like nothing. Now, okay, well, it's cultists. Do I really care? But if I have my Mauler Fiends, my Space Dogs attacking on one flank and my Spawn Pack attacking on the other, you're going to be busy dealing with both of those. You're not going to really have time to get to my cultists if they're in the same deployment band, if they're moving up together on there. So this idea with Terminators, I feel like right now in 40K, based on my local meta and my experiences, that shooty Terminators are better. And here's why. The Storm Bolters allow you to reach out, throw out a decent amount of dice, whether we want to go, if it's kind of Dark Angels, if it's vanilla, if we're going to go with some sort of plasma, assault cannon, heavy flamer, missile launcher type upgrade on there. That's separate because it's a smaller amount of dice, although it is important. But the bulk of your dice are going to be Storm Bolters on there. That's pretty potent. That's a potent threat bubble. Up in the archive on my podcasts and my blog, you want to just do Wargamer Fritz threat bubble. That's going to kind of key in there. It's an important key 40K strategy. And in the assault, so I can get those Storm Bolters in, and then in the assault, the Power Fists and other things, they're pretty decent. And as 8th edition really swings to a shooty-based game with less and less assault elements, I don't have to worry about really hitting that tough nut to crack, that granite cornerstone here. I don't really need dedicated close combat, dedicated assault on there. The shooty Terminators do both good enough when combined with the armor save and other abilities. That's their potency. Now, that said, I do run Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators. I really like them. I put them in a Land Raider. I acknowledge their weaknesses, and I have other units both in my Black Templar list and on the Chaos side. I was going to say Loyalist, Chaos being Loyalists. They understand the true vision for the galaxy under Horus. In that, I have Terminators in there, and they're accompanied by a Vindicator and some other elements. So we need to address that. I'm getting pumped for Terminators right now. Your thoughts in 40K, Terminators as they are right now, Terminator Tactica, and how they fit in and how they work into the meta.